Okay.
Okay.
We're here at the Dianda's home to interview Sir Robert Dianda and his wife Teresa Dianda about their relationship with Luigi Providenza. We're going to be asking them some questions and getting their ideas and vision of what they thought Providenza was all about. Okay. Sir Robert, what was your relationship with Luigi Providenza, and what was it like working with him?
Well, my relationship with Luigi was very close. Working with him was fine. Like I say, in his vocabulary, no was never in his vocabulary. And when we wanted to start branches, we'd go with him, and he'd be so insistent that we'd end up having a branch. And he was very good to work with. I mean, I learned a lot from him in different ways, so that's about it.
Teresa?
Yes, well, he found out that I could take dictation and transcribe it, so I did a lot of work for him with 5 little kids running around the house, you know. And he'd stay here and talk, and pretty soon the phone would ring and he'd say, "That's Augusta, tell her I'm on my way home to have dinner," you know. He'd talk and talk. He'd talk about he'd go to call on different houses during the day and talk to the women, you know, and some of the husbands didn't like that he would go there and talk to them during the day when they weren't home. Anyway, I did a lot of work for him, and then was it Easter or Christmas?
Easter.
He gave me an Easter lily. Yeah.
Well, that's nice.
Yeah, for all the work I did for him. Yeah, but yeah, he was here a lot when he knew I could, you know.
Did you enjoy doing the work with him and
Oh,
stuff?
I didn't mind. Yeah, I was home then, and I could do it. Yeah.
We're lucky we had you then.
He was.
What do you feel was Luigi's vision for the ICF, and how did he go about enacting it?
Well, his vision was very strong for the ICF, and his main thing was that he wanted to get the Italian people that weren't going to church anymore to join the Federation and be with amongst Italians and have their Catholic faith. And I think he worked very hard on it, and he did a good job, because we're still, after 80 years, we're still an organization, and I think if everybody works as hard as he did, we'll still continue on having an organization as strong as we have.
Do you agree with that, Teresa?
Yes, he was a very religious man, and you know, and what was I going to say? He never raised his voice. You know, he was a quiet man, but he got things done.
But he had a lot of talent to get people to work together. You feel?
Oh, yes.
It's quite obvious, yeah.
In a quiet way, though.
In a quiet way. All right. Would you like to share any stories, or would you have special stories you have about Luigi?
Story with Luigi, I know that he'd call his wife up at 2, 3 o'clock in the afternoon and tell him he's bringing a Monsignor or Bishop over for dinner at 5:30, and she'd have dinner all ready for him.
She'd do it.
She'd have the table all set and food on the table. And I know a few times we were up there for dinner with Monsignor Tillman, Monsignor Connolly, and my folks, and we'd sit down, he'd start talking, and he'd say, "What do you want to drink?" And everybody say what he wanted to drink, and then he'd say, "Bob, will you make it for me?" And then we sit down for dinner, and he'd sit there and goes to say, "It's time to cut the meat." And Luigi'd say, "Yeah," and look at me, and I'd end up going to cut the meat for him, because Luigi didn't want to miss a word that anybody was saying at the table. And also, you were there, and if you wanted something to show you a piece of paper or something, he says, "Augusta, will you go get that paper? I want to show him this and that." he never would get up to do it, but he was always there. And Luigi always wore a shirt and tie
That's what I was gonna
in the
say,
house.
always.
He'd work out in the garden. When he got through in the garden, he'd come in and shower and put a shirt and tie and a sweater on.
Always had a
And he
shirt.
always was like that. I never, the only time I saw him with the sports shirt on was if he was working out in the yard, but he was always.
Yeah, I heard that he was always at ease with bishops or.
Right, he was at ease with the bishop. He knew every bishop in the world, I think, that he could. And he was just, fabulous with the priests. I mean, he got along with every one of them, so.
I guess you're kind of, do you have anything else you'd like to say about his personality or character?
Well, another thing was, I was telling Vince before, when we had the convention in Oakland, he used to he'd invite the bishop, the mayor, chief of police, the newspaper reporters or whatnot, and invite them for a prime room dinner before the convention. He says, you get to know all these people, and when you want something, you could go and ask them and they'll do it for you. And so, when we had the convention in Oakland, he said, well, you have a nice big room here, I think we could have the dinner here instead of going to a restaurant. So that's what we did. We had cooked dinner, and Gusta came and helped cook the dinner, and we had a fabulous dinner. The day after, the owner of the Alameda Times-Star wrote a big article about ICF and what good they were doing. So, I mean, he was very,
How to get things done.
oh yeah.
Okay. Form relationships. What is important to remember about Providenza? I think the most important thing to remember about him.
Well, the most important thing, I think, is this religious, being a Catholic and being so religious, make sure, like I said, to get people to get back to the church. And
He was a quiet man, but he got things done,
But very devoted.
Oh,
Very
very,
devoted,
very, oh, yeah. Yeah.
And then when I remember when he was installed as Knight of St. Gregory, how important that was to him too, that he received that. And he always, anytime he could wear his uniform, he wanted to wear his uniform. Because a lot of times they really didn't care that you had the uniform, but he would always.
Bob never sent for a uniform.
He,
It was
Yeah.
very expensive.
I've seen pictures of him when we had the
yeah, well, matter of fact,
convention in San Jose. We had all those pictures, and he was.
there's one in the office, and that one in the office is Marissa Poggi painted
She
that one in
painted
the
that.
office.
Oh, really?
She's the one that did the painting on that.
Is there anything else you'd like to say
No, that's about it.
before I'm going to ask you personal questions about your personal
Can
involvement
you,
with that? Yeah.
can you tell us the story about when you went to the for the ad? To get the ad?
Story about when we had the convention in Oakland, we were having a convention at the Hotel Claremont in Oakland, and so I went with them and being co-chairman, and we talked to Mervyn Lair, who was the owner of the Claremont, and Luigi wanted to get an ad for the convention book, and Mervyn Lair said, no, I'm sorry, I cannot do it. He said, because if I give you an ad, he said, every convention comes in town, I have to give them an ad. And so I'm getting up to say, well, he said, no, I'm getting up, so that was it. And then Luigi put my hand on me and told me to sit down again, so I sat down. And he started telling Mervyn Lair, well, we could do it this way, we could do it that compliment from the East Bay District, but you pay for it and we'll put compliment from the East Bay District. Well, he stayed there long enough that Mervyn Lair had a hotel they called the Greenhouse in San Francisco. And so he finally got an ad, a full-page ad from him for the Greenhouse in San Francisco. And like I said, he would not take the word no from anybody.
He's a very persistent guy.
Oh, yeah.
Very persistent.
Quiet but persistent.
Persistent.
Teresa, what kind of dictation did you take for him? What kind of things were you?
Any kind of correspondence.
For the conventions, you did a lot.
Yeah, for the conventions, and see, it was easier for him to come here in Oakland. Otherwise, he would have to go to San Francisco. So I did a lot of typing for him when he found out I could take dictation and type. And like I say, I had the 5 little kids running all over. That's okay.
That didn't bother him.
No.
No, he'd give
No,
them a
he
candy.
always-
He'd give them a candy
I was
each.
just gonna say.
Oh, yeah?
He always had mints in his pocket. And even when he had his oil changed, he'd give the guys a mint.
Really?
Give him a tip, he gave him a mint.
All right, well, heck, you know, whatever works.
Yeah.
Why did you join the ICF and stay so dedicated?
The reason I joined the ICF, well, in 1951 when the branch started, we started the branch the day after I left to go into service. And then
Yeah.
coming back, I didn't join it then. And then in 1961 I joined. And the reason we joined was our branch of 91 was only down to 35 people.
It was faltering.
And they wanted to close the branch because they said there wasn't enough people. So then the pastor called 13 of us that had children in the first grade.
Italians, yeah.
And we all went and we had a meeting, and first thing we knew, we were joining the ICF. And from that time on, and I became president, and from 35 till the time I gave up being president, we had 165 people in the branch.
Wow. So it was really a family organization.
Oh,
Right,
yes.
right. And out of the 13 that joined, I was the only one that remained and still there.
Yeah.
In 50 some odd years, I'm still
You're still there. But did all your children grow
All
up in
my
the ICF?
children all belong to the ICF. Some of my grandchildren belong
You
to
started the close relationship with Providenza then.
food.
He was here.
When you joined, he got to know you?
When I got to know him, well, I knew him before when he first started the branch because
Okay.
he used to come over to our house, and he ended up getting my dad to be the president, first president of Branch 91.
'Cause he
And that's
had-
how we got to meet. But then, like I said, day after we started the branch, I left to go to the service for 2 years. So then I came back. I didn't get active in it until our son was in the first grade.
I see. Okay.
Yeah, our oldest.
What are some of your fond memories of the ICF? Good or bad?
Well, they all been good. I've enjoyed all the conventions. I've been
And the
to,
people we met.
That's good.
all
You know.
the conventions I've been very nice, and we met a lot of nice people.
Yeah,
And we have a lot of new friends
all up
because
and
of
down
the
the
ICF.
state,
Yeah.
yeah.
What do you remember mostly about your work on the Central Council? You've been on the Central Council for a long time.
Yeah, I've been on the Central Council quite a few years. Well, being the chairman of the scholarship and being on the different committees. I was on the mortuary committee for many years and hospitalization committee for many years, and I was chairman of them for off and on, but those are my